go into an amazing state of relaxation. Focus, deep breath in, and breathe out and sleep. Those eyes closed, relaxing every muscle nerve fiber going even deeper. Staying balanced on your feet. Deep, letting yourself drop into an incredibly relaxed trance. When I say that word, sleep. Let your eyes close, let yourself drop all the way down. Even if you try to push yourself up, you stay stuck.
So today, we're here with one of our favorite people of all time, Zach.
This is the third time, too.
Is this the third time? Right? For those of you who don't know, Zach is a hypnotist. What's your title? You have a whole bunch of things. You do motivational speaking.
Hypnosis, motivational speaking, did voice acting now too. So just kind of juggling a lot of plates. It's been fun.
I don't know how many years ago it was, maybe 3.
It's 2020, that's the first time we did a video, yeah.
And I have to say, from talking to you then and witnessing you hypnotize Rob and me and Noah and everybody, I will never forget that. And I still reference that in conversation today when I talk to people, because I think there were so many valuable lessons. First off, it was crazy. Just seeing the hypnosis, it's like unbelievable. The hypnosis thing, people still don't believe that that's real. When they watch the clips, you could tell Rob was faking it at so-and-so. Why would he do that? Does that happen to you frequently?
Does the sun come out frequently? All the time. And I get it, because people have a misconception on what hypnosis is, right? All people know of hypnosis is what they see in the movies or on a TV show where they're like, oh, it's this mind-controlled superpower where somebody is held against their will to do whatever they want. And that's not how it works. It's a natural psychological state that we all experience. Ultimately, I like to say it's when we experience what we believe, and we experience that through something like the placebo effect, where you can take a sugar pill or a saline solution, something that's fake medicine, but you actually get better because you believe it will work. Or when you fall asleep and you dream at night, your mind plays a story that's not real, but it feels so real that you experience it like it is. You could even have a really scary dream and you wake up in a cold sweat, or you wake up feeling really anxious, even though nothing happened. It was so real in your mind, it became real in your body. Hypnosis just taps into that natural psychological state to bring that to people. So it's not mind control, it's not this evil superpower, but it is natural. It is how our brain is wired to work, and most people just don't realize it, which is why they think it's fake.
The way to hypnotize people, when I was thinking about how you do it, you're using these noises and these like little things, whatever. I don't even know if I'm asking a direct question here, but what the hell is all that? Because before I get into it, when you say like people think it's a diabolical thing, when I saw what you were able to do to people's minds, like being able to make them believe XYZ, I don't think I could be trusted with that. Like it's literally a superpower. We could tell Rob, and now you think I'm the most attractive man on the planet. And then, hey!
I start making out with you.
It's a different kind of video, guys.
Oh, let me say this. Explain the little noises.
First, I'll say a lot of people often ask, how easy is it to become a hypnotist, or how could I learn, right? Or how could I become a hypnotist? And I say that hypnosis is very easy to learn, but it's very difficult to master. In the same way, if you were asking, how can I learn to draw, or how can I become an artist? You can learn to draw stick figures really quickly, right? As you move your hand in the right shapes,
yeah,
and you can draw. But to really like become a high-level artist and draw really, really well, it takes practice, it takes experience, it takes really mastering that craft. So anybody could start learning hypnosis because it's all words, it's all just communication. It's saying the right words in the right order at the right time, but a lot of it is being able to improvise, it's being able to adapt, it's being able to understand, all right, why is it working and how can I make it work better? Or if it's not working, how can I help the person make the adjustment they need so it can work and they can get hypnotized? And when I am hypnotizing people, part of the things you learn through that process is how to lock people into that state of focus and concentration.
I'm getting already
it's already in there. But if I was trying to hypnotize you and everything I was saying was just in this monotone, boring voice and I'm just talking like this, it's not very engaging. But as I'm talking with different tone and different pitch and inflection, and if I slow down my words so you can focus on them even more,
don't take me.
It makes you focus on them more, right? And when I do those noises, or I snap, for example, a snap is what's called a psychological anchor. So if I'm talking and I say, hey, I want you to focus on this right now. When I snap on this, it emphasizes that word so you really focus on it, right? Or if I were to do a little motivational thing where I could say, you can do anything. You can do anything that you really want to do. When I'm snapping on that emphasis word, it really helps you focus. So when I'm doing hypnosis and I'm saying, hey, focus on the sound of my voice and let yourself sleep. Sleep is the emphasis word because it's really telling people that they need to go into that state of hyper-focus and relaxation. That's often why you'll see me snap or do some sort of physical anchor to get people to psychologically lock into that.
I want to get into this type of self-help conversation because I think that's one of your elements to your arsenal that people don't really think about. They might think of you as a hypnotist or even a speaker, but that's one of my favorite things about you is your ability to give these really powerful gems and pieces of information that motivate people. The last thing I want to know about the hypnosis, is there anything you could tell me / the viewers right now that would be like the stick figure drawing equivalent of how to hypnotize somebody? So whether I'm on not me, of course it's not about me at all. You're on a date, you're on meeting a new person. Is there very sort of thing you could do to start getting somebody. Good evening.
Look,
You meet a girl? You're beautiful. And the reason I'm so excited about this, a lot of y'all have not been hypnotized before. Although I didn't go into complete dream realm, you got me to the point where when you said sleep, my eyes, it felt like I had no control. My eyes just shut. And I was like, this is really real. He just snapped and my eyes just went like this.
Hypothetically, right? If you had a friend named Hippo, you know, hypothetically, not Rhino, Hippo, of course, right? So what I'll teach you is just a few quick principles of influence, right? So the example of what you were talking about when you were hypnotized, and when I said sleep, you felt like your eyes would just lock shut and you lost control. You didn't lose control, whereas if in the hypnotic state, the fire alarm went off and you had to get out of the building, your eyes would shoot open and you'd go do what you need to do. But what happened was in the state of hypnosis, through my methods of hypnotic technique and communication and influence, I locked you into this state of what we call psychological rapport. You got locked into what I was saying to the point where when I said sleep, it's not that you lost control and you had to do it, but you were locked into the state where you really wanted to do it and you allowed yourself to accept that suggestion and your mind was like, oh, sleep, that sounds really good. When he says that, yes, I'll let myself have that relaxing experience.
Okay.
So a sort of a baseline level of hypnotic influence that you could use maybe in a conversation or in a date. Getting people into the state of psychological influence, one of the ways you can do that is through locking people in what we call rapport. Because naturally in psychology, we tend to like people who are like us. There's very different, or we feel like, I don't vibe with this person, I don't connect. Then there's this dissonance and we have our guard up and we're more reserved. So if you're on a date and you're with somebody who's kind of like getting that ick and they're like, I don't know about this guy, I'm not sure, they'll be more defensive and it's gonna be harder for you to get them to like you. But the fastest way to develop rapport, to develop positive influence, to develop connection with someone is to show them that you are similar. One way you can do this is through what's called psychological matching and mirroring. And so if you notice right now, this sort of happened just sort of subconsciously, is we're actually sitting kind of in the same way. It's hard to see this on the other side of the counter, but even just like our positioning, the way we're both sort of leaning forward, the way our kind of legs are slightly open under the bar, the way our hands are kind of here, right? Now this sort of happened naturally in the way that we're communicating, right? Because we know each other, right? We're friends. But when you're on a date, a lot of times if we're on a date and I was kind of sitting like this, like away from you and kind of looking this way, or if I was kind of sitting with my arms crossed while you're sitting like this, there's this subconscious thing that it's like, all right, there's something off. There's something off. And we can't always put our finger on it, but it's something that's there. And because there's something off, that triggers your mind to be like, well, I know I should keep my guard up because I don't know what's off. And so I'm gonna maybe not allow myself to really vibe with this person as much as I would. And this doesn't mean copy of this person. It doesn't mean, okay, all right, I'm copying.
You're doing this,
But when you're really in tune with someone, you just naturally start to sort of shift into this state that's similar. Talking similar to how they're doing. If you're sort of in a chill vibe mood and you're talking kind of like this and you're more so, there's this dissonance. You're like, all right, this person's kind of this off from where I'm at right now. This doesn't mean I talk and try to imitate and do a Rhino impression and talk exactly like you, but talking in a similar pace and sort of matching the energy that you're putting out sort of creates this psychological rapport where this other person on a subconscious level, not even consciously where they're thinking this person is like me, they're like, oh, this person gets me, this person's similar to me, and I can sort of let my guard down and trust them and connect with them more. And whether that means in a state of hypnosis and they listen to what I say and get hypnotized, or whether it means they connect with you on a friend level or on a date or to get to know you better or a job interview, whatever it may be, that psychological rapport helps people to create that connection.
So essentially, if someone's body is in a certain way, you mirror it, but not in such a way that it's obvious or too crazy. Or let's say, what if you use the same words that they use? The craziest night ever, and then you use that word crazy again. Or does that make sense?
Exactly, yeah. And you'll notice a lot of politicians do this. If you watch the news and you hear politicians speak, they naturally will do that. People ask them a question, they'll echo the words right back, or they'll say this in a way. And that's how politicians at least try to be likable to their audience and get people to vote for them.
Because I heard of someone saying, if you repeat the same vocabulary that someone uses and you start using it, it makes them feel like, yeah, this is my type of guy because we use the same words.
And that's something that can even come across over text too, right? In person, there's a lot more that can come out in that moment, but in text communication, when it's just the words, there's no tonality, there's no physicality that's there. Even if someone's like, all right, sounds good, and you can just mirror back like, sure, sounds good, like, see you then. You sort of echo back the words they're saying. You're not copying them. Hey, last night was crazy. Yeah, last night was really crazy. I can't believe this happened, right?
They think that you're just being casual. Meanwhile, we learn from Zach.
Just plotting all along, right?
And now we're on the couch.
Conversational hypnosis already starting to get a little more intimate now. The rapport has been built and we're moved to a more casual setting.
Wait till I start snapping. Can I use a snap at some point? Good evening. Or no, it's only...
It's a little out there, right? It's emphasis for a reason, right? Because I'm doing it in hypnosis because it's, hey, you know, it's usually on the sleep, or it's so relaxed, or it's on a really emphasized word. So,
I'm gonna get that snap.
or you could do it in a way that's kind of playful, of like you're having conversation, like, hey, do you notice every time I snap, you suddenly become a little more attracted to me? You're like, and it's not actually working, but you're using it in a way that's kind of flirtatious, and they're like, oh, really? Like,
we're getting right into the self-help stuff. I'm someone who enjoys bettering themselves and always looking to try to be better in some way, expanding my mind and thoughts. One of your tweets that I screenshotted was, look for excuses. Matter of fact, do that thing with the audience with the red thing.
So there's this TikTok video that I posted, and I'll do it now for you guys who want to try this out. Is this quick little challenge. I want you to look around the room you are in and find as many things as you can that are red, the color red. Look all around the room, find as many things as you can that are red. Just look around, find red, red, red all around you. Got 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, how many red things did you notice in the room? Now, another question. How many blue things did you notice? While you were looking for red, did you notice any blue? Because you see, your mind is designed and wired to find what you look for. If you were so focused on looking for the reds, you might not have found or noticed the blue.
That's what I'm talking about. That's why we're here right now.
But the kicker is, if you look for excuses, you find excuses. And if you're so busy looking for excuses, you may not notice possibilities. Your brain will find what you look for.
It's the most simple concepts that we overlook. I don't think people understand how their own minds operate. They're just kind of, oh, living, I go to school, I do this, I do that. But even me who knows stuff like that, it's good to get a reminder. And it's so easy to look for problems because they're everywhere. You could find them all day long. With that in mind, you can also look for solutions and reasons to keep going, reasons to improvise.
If I ask you, hey, is today a good day or a bad day? Truthfully, the answer is it's just a day, but it's more about what you make it.
This one was interesting. You tweeted, it's hard to find happiness. However, happiness has a tendency of finding you when you're not looking for it. I like the sound of that. But my question is, I think we're all looking for happiness. We all want to be happier, but it's like, okay, stop looking for it. And I think people will relate to this. If I had a bit more money in my bank account, damn, I'd sleep a bit easier at night. If my job or my boss was a bit nicer to me, that would feel better. I want those things to be better, but how am I supposed to just ignore wanting to be happy?
You said you want to be happy,
Yep.
and yet you just listed 3 ways that you could be unhappy. Through trying to be happy, it actually makes you less happy. Because if you're like, hey, I want to be happy, how do I be happy? I should make more money. Oh, I guess I'm not making enough money, I'm not as happy. Oh, I should get my boss to treat me better. Oh, I guess my boss is treating me like this, I'm not as happy. I should find a better relationship. Oh, I guess if my relationship's not as good, I'm not as happy. When you are trying to be happy, it makes you focus on how unhappy you are. Chasing happiness is like chasing a butterfly. The more you chase it, the further it flies away from you. But if you want to catch the butterfly, if you want to catch happiness, hold out your hand, let the butterfly come to you. Change something, learn to accept it. If you can't accept it, learn to change it. Those are the only 2 options you have.
This is very random, but there was a girl.
Speaking of happiness, there was a girl.
Speaking of happiness, this is gonna take a weird turn for you. She had all her limbs amputated because of some freak incident, infection, whatever. We were thinking like, oh my God. All of our trivial problems that maybe you're going through, I'm going through, become meaningless when you think about the concept that, what if I had no arms and legs? I would not be caring about, oh man, the AC is broken. You'd have bigger fish to fry. I happen to have all my arms and legs, but now this is the problem. Whereas if I had no arms and legs, that would be the problem.
And it's easy for us to get distracted by the things that aren't going well. We forget all the things that are. And now, a good exercise to practice happiness and gratitude. You know, imagine, if you will, for example, you're watching this video and suddenly the internet cuts out. And you don't have access to watch this video wherever you're watching it from. Something as simple as, you know, scrolling on the internet or texting my friends or watching YouTube or TikTok or whatever it may be. You don't have internet. And your house catches on fire and you have to get out, and the place where you live suddenly burned down and you have no home. And then while you are outside and you realize your place is on fire, someone you know comes up to you and tells you someone you care about just got in a terrible accident and they're in the hospital and you're not sure if they're gonna make it. You would give anything to go back to where you were 5 minutes ago when none of that happened. And yet that's exactly where you are right now. Happiness is all about perspective. There are always things that could be better, and there are always things that could be worse. Focus on what you have.
And you know what? That's an incredible point. I've been practicing gratitude, like not just saying, I practice gratitude. Last night, or maybe 2 nights ago, doesn't really matter the night, I looked in the mirror, I just had a haircut and I was like playing with my hair. Feeling, I was like, the hair texture is kind of cool, whatever. And then I thought, wow, I'm young, in my 20s, I still have hair. There'll be a day when I'm old and disheveled and I won't even have hair. I thought, wow, I'm in my prime right now. I just thought it was a tiny, like, minute thing to be grateful for, and I could do that all day, every day. Oh, here's a fun one. This is a different tweet. This guy said, the problem with being introduced to self-improvement too young is that it robs you of the innocence that comes with being like a dumb, energetic kid. Staying up all night talking to a girl who would eventually break your heart, drinking a little too much on a night out and waking up with a story to tell, getting yourself into some trouble and being introduced to the concept of risk for the first time. Build yourself, but take yourself less seriously. Learn from your ignorance instead of trying to avoid it. Let yourself fall and enjoy it all. The problem with taking self-improvement too far is that it makes you unnatural, like a robot without the idiosyncrasies that make you you. And I was like, damn. That made a lot of sense. I'm always trying to do everything right and perfect, and what's the stoic thing to do? I should do this in this situation. But if you really did that all the time, you would lose your humanity and you'd be this robot. Yep, everything's going great. I have nothing bad to say about anything. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's all about finding that balance. It's good to be able to want to improve yourself. It's good to want to make yourself better. Like you're saying, you don't want to take that to the extent of you just become a project that you're always just trying to fix, because then that also just creates this negative mindset of you're never perfect, or you're never enough if you're always trying to improve and you're always trying to get better. I remember when I was really young playing with Legos, I would always spend so much time trying to build the house of Legos and make it even better, make it taller, make it cooler. And I would spend all my time building this Lego house, and by the time playtime was over, I never actually played with the house. I was always building the house, making it better and better. I never actually enjoyed it. So right, in the grand scheme of things, nothing really matters. How many people do you remember from the year 1023, right? Make your life what you want it to be. Strive to be the best you can be, because you only have one life. But in the grand scheme of things, you're not meant to be a robot. Let yourself have fun. Don't strive towards something that isn't gonna make you happy if it's not what truly lights you up. For example, for me as a hypnotist, when I was learning hypnosis, I was very bad as a hypnotist, and I was always trying to get better. But I enjoyed the process of learning and striving and growing and becoming better, and that enabled me to grow. But if I was trying to become a really good cook, for example, like I don't really have a passion for cooking, and if I was trying to improve myself in that area, I wouldn't have as much fun, because it's not something that makes me feel alive.
Your tweet here, life is void of ultimate meaning, and yet the beauty of life is that we get to fill the void with whatever means the most to us while we are here. The fact that nothing ultimately matters gives us the freedom to decide that anything can. To your point, yeah, no one's gonna remember us or what we wore or that we even existed. Do whatever you want. Because if I run outside naked with peanut butter all over myself, it'll be pretty embarrassing. Do you ever feel like, oh shit, that was rough? Like a stand-up show, have you ever felt that before?
And most people think embarrassment is what other people are going to think of the situation. But embarrassment is all about how you portray the situation. Right, if I was running outside naked covered in peanut butter, right? Something most people are like, that's very embarrassing, look at this idiot, what's going on? It's only embarrassing if I let it feel and be embarrassing. If I'm having a good time and I'm vibing, right, you know.
Like most of the crackheads that I'll be seeing around
sure,
here.
Right? I'm actually enjoying it. I'm like, I'm not embarrassing, like this is great, this is having a good time. People might think it's weird, I'm okay with it. Embarrassment is not what other people think of you, it's how you think of yourself in that moment. If you trip and you fall in the middle of the grocery store, most people are like, oh, that's so embarrassing, what an idiot. But it's all about how you respond to that. If you respond, you're like, oh no, I'm such an embarrassment, I can't believe I did that. But if you fall and you just kind of sit there and you laugh at yourself and you're like, well, the air's great down here, right? You crack a joke out of it and you just pick yourself right back up and you keep going. You're like, everyone makes mistakes, everyone falls down sometime. You know, it's part of life. I still want to answer your original question of the tweet of like, oh, well, life's meaningless, but we make our own meaning. And I think a lot of times people are looking for, you know, the purpose or meaning to life, right? They're like, what's my purpose? What's my meaning? There isn't one. But the beauty of having no purpose is that you get to create one. If there was one specific purpose or meaning that you were locked into, you would be a slave to that purpose. If you're looking for your purpose and I said, hey, I found it. Your purpose is to go be a keeper of a lighthouse in Antarctica. That's your purpose. That is why you were born. That is why you are here on Earth. You'd be like, well, I don't want to do that. That sounds boring.
5 minutes into the lighthouse, you'd be like,
you're like, I hate this purpose.
I want a new one.
You don't get one purpose. You don't get one reason why you are here. There is no purpose or reason. You were just a sperm that won the race, and here you are.
You tweeted, the paradox of desire is that the less you want, the more you have. Wanting nothing feels the same as having everything. I'm a collector of things. There's like random things that I find beauty in certain objects, and like I have some Funko Pops. Like I've got a bunch of signed Funko Pops. I think they're like super cool. I always find myself, I enjoy the process of finding something new, adding it to the collection, whatever. And I've been working on this like like minimalism, want less, blah, blah, blah. I find it difficult. Once I get all these, now I want a new set of these. Now I want a chain, and now I want this and that. With regards to your tweet and what I just prompted you with, what would you say about all that?
Well, this kind of ties into the question you asked earlier about self-improvement. How much self-improvement should we do, right? And it is ultimately about that balance. You know, it's a Buddhist idea that the less you want, the more you have. Like, the desire is the root of unhappiness. Because if you want something, that implies that you don't have it. And if you don't have it, that implies an unhappiness. Now, something like collecting, right, is fine to do. It's a fun hobby that gives you something to grow in and something that you have fun doing. And so that's totally fine. It's all about getting to that point where you can be comfortable accepting who you are, where you are, and what you have. Versus so many people look at it of, oh, well, I'm not even a cake, I'm just the crumbs. And until this, then I'm the cake. Or until this, and when I do this, and once I do this. And it never is. Because once you have enough, then you always want more. And once you have that, you always want more. Once you make $100,000, you want 200. And there's always a higher ladder to climb. And people are never satisfied.
How does one become content with what they have? Because I want more. I want more A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And there are some things where I'm like, oh, I'm cool with this. I have enough shoes, for example. I don't want any more shoes. When I was a kid, I wanted new shoes. So I've made progress with that. I still would like to put that in other areas of my life where I don't want more of this or this or this. How do you become content or satisfied?
Ultimately, that comes from a place of self-acceptance. Because the things that we don't have or the things we feel like we lack or we need all come from a place of insecurity or insufficiency, right? If you were to ask yourself why you need the thing that you need, or what is that going to bring you? Well, I need a new pair of shoes. Okay, then I'll be happy. Well, what is that new pair of shoes going to bring you? Oh, well, maybe it will improve my style. If you improve your style, what does that bring you? Maybe people will look at me better. Now, if people look you better, what does that bring you? If people look at me better, then I'll feel more comfortable with myself. Well, if you feel more comfortable with yourself, then what does that mean? What does that bring you? Maybe I can finally accept myself, right? It all leads to that place of self-acceptance.
If you question that want, I remember I got rid of a bunch of jewelry. I now own no jewelry, and I saw something on my thing. I was like, that's a cool watch. I kind of want one of those now. And then I thought, well, why do I want that? Well, I want it because this. Once you do that, why? Once you keep asking yourself why you really need this thing and really get detailed and introspective about it, you can kind of come to a conclusion. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, just thinking about that idea of if you were to never buy anything new, if you were to never grow, if you were to never learn, if you were to always just be this person you are today, would that be enough? Would you be willing to accept yourself as you are? And if the answer is no, it's not because you need something else to be lovable or you need something else to be enough. It's because you just haven't learned to accept yourself. And when you are so comfortable with who you are and you say, I am who I am, regardless of what I have, regardless of what I do, regardless of what I accomplish or achieve, I am enough exactly how I am. Anything you do learn or grow or get along the way, again, just becomes a bonus. You become a better version of that.
And I think a good exercise to do that, which I'm thinking I'm gonna do, is try going without that thing that you think you need. You think you need new shoes? Just try, for the sake of humoring us, whatever, don't get them and let 6 months go by. And then think to yourself, all right, how are you doing without those shoes? Probably fine. Guess you really didn't need them.
It's okay to want more things. It's okay to want new things, but as long as it doesn't come from a place of need, and know that you are enough whether or not you have those things.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I was gonna say the same thing. You took the words out of my mouth. Thank you guys. And make sure you guys follow Zach. Check him out. Instagram, YouTube, we'll pop him up and put him in the description.